All right, welcome everybody. We're back after a bunch of exciting user feedback in public sessions. We had the public feedback session with folks giving feedback around benchmarking working group. That was really successful and compelling. And we had the in-person session with the team at Walmart Labs. Joel Chen brought his team with him, and we were able to share with the community session at Index Conf. A bit more perspective about how Walmart is using Node, and that was really fun. But today we're going to dive in and follow up with Greg Wallace of the Node.js Foundation and see how we can land the benchmarking working group survey. So before I get into the meat of what we're discussing today, let me make sure that I let everyone sort of introduce themselves. So I'm Dan Shaw, the champion of the User Feedback Initiative, community committee member, and Node.js OG. Tierney?
Hi, I'm Tierney Siren. I'm chair of the community committee, and I'm a developer advocate at NodeSource.
Mihai?
Hi, I'm Mihai. I'm a member of User Feedback Initiative. Thank you.
Christopher?
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a maintainer of Mocha, the testing framework, and I'm a developer advocate at IBM.
Greg?
Hey everyone, Greg Wallace. I am responsible for marketing at the Linux Foundation, and I work on a variety of projects, but Node is my favorite.
Michael?
I'm Michael Dawson, a member of the user feedback team and the chair of the TSC.
Great. So our primary objective today is to see if we can get to landing the data in GitHub. We want to make the data that we collect for user feedback and for other working groups inside the Node.js project available to everyone to do some analysis, to do to be able to evaluate trends. We believe that not just the sort of information from the project, these surveys is useful, but like really making that data accessible to everybody for decision making is an important part of what we do. So that has some interesting implications. We're an all volunteer group, and we don't have a lot of business structures in place to sort of protect that data. Greg, I know you brought some data with you today. Let's dive into what are the outputs of the survey? What do we have to sort of deal with in the data that we get from the completed survey?
Yeah, yep, totally. So there basically are three files. So we used SurveyMonkey to run this survey, and SurveyMonkey is fine. It's good, right? It's somewhere in between like Google Forms on the sort of low self-service end and like some really sophisticated survey software that real pros use if they're doing massive surveys. SurveyMonkey is like good. It's got a lot of features. So basically, just to kind of, I don't want to rehash everything, but just to remind everyone, right? One of the things that we did was we worked as a group to ensure that the way we were asking the questions would make the analysis of the results as easy as possible. So, whereas, initially there were a lot of very open-ended questions, which would have required us to read, a sentence or a paragraph, times the number of people who responded, we closed those up. And so for all of the questions like that we closed, so there was just a list of options that respondents could pick from, we cranked out a PDF report out of SurveyMonkey that basically has just those answers represented as bar charts, right? So really easy to kind of quickly look at and get a feel for. There were maybe like 4 or 5 questions that were in the opinions of you all, right, better left as open-ended. And so SurveyMonkey doesn't know what to do with that data, but they do have like these little built-in analyzers. So for those ones, I created a quick PowerPoint because they don't include that in their standard PDF. So a quick PowerPoint that just has like word clouds for those questions with the most frequent, the bigger the word, the more frequently it was mentioned. Right? It's not ideal, but it's, again, for somebody who's just wanting to, kind of quickly look through the data and get a sense of the responses will be sufficient.
Greg, while we're talking to that, do you want to put that up on screen so we can
Sure.
look at that together?
Totally.
Awesome.
Yeah, let me, yep, I've got the folder here. Let me just open those. So I'll, that over here, share screen. Let me see what I want to share. I think it's this one. Do you guys see?
Coming. There you go.
Yep.
So, right, this is what you get out of, and I'll go ahead and make those little margins smaller so that this is a little bigger. So this is the thing that that SurveyMonkey cranks out, right? And so for almost all the questions, you've got just a nice, simple way of viewing the data that summarizes it in a helpful manner. But you come to a question like this where we had an open-ended, and so it's blank. And so for all of those, I did, and I'm not sure if are you seeing the PowerPoint? I'm not sure exactly how I'm sharing, if I'm just sharing the file or if I'm sharing the whole screen.
So, yes.
You see benchmarking working group survey supplemental? Is that what you all are seeing now?
We see the PDF page.
That's still the PDF page.
Total.
I mean,
oh, are you in presentation mode? Yeah, sometimes that works weird.
Oh, yeah. We did not see that before.
Got it.
Aha.
So, right. So for any time there was a question that SurveyMonkey was like, I don't really know how to present this in PDF.
Nice.
I created these little supplementals, right?
Dude.
So, right. So what are the top 5 node modules that you use most often? 1, 2. These are the little word clouds for those 5, right? So you can
Nice.
you can pick out trends, right?
Right.
Right. So that was question 5. Question 7 was also one that was kind of open-ended. Sorry about that. 14 again is one that was like that. So this is the word cloud that that SurveyMonkey produces. 15, 16, 20, and then 24. There's another way you can do it, and I thought that 24 lended itself better to this presentation than a word cloud.
Sorry, one quick question. Tierney, did you start the live stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I just didn't see there's a link in like if somebody wanted to watch, is the link in the issue now?
Oh, I don't think I posted that, but I can go ahead and do that.
Okay, that'd be
It
good.
should
Thanks.
be in
Sorry.
the invite. So it's in the invite for the meeting note, right? It's part of our core issue.
I don't think with Zoom we can do that.
Well, you can point to the YouTube page and then go to /live, and it'll always just show whatever is being live streamed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we have that though.
I use that all the time. try that link. Let's move on with discussion.
Yeah,
but
go on.
Try that link sometime. It's cool.
So basically, from a summary perspective, right? If the audience, whether that's you or somebody you work with, is really not somebody who's going to be doing their own analysis with the data, but is interested in what the results are. This combination of the PDF and the PowerPoint should be sufficient, right? It will provide that level of visibility into the data. But there are obviously people who are very comfortable analyzing data and would like to be able to do custom analysis. So, I want to, for example, frequently you'll want to look at a segment of respondents and then see how they answered a specific set of questions. So I really am very interested in knowing how companies that are, larger, more active, using more applications, right? How they responded to different questions. Are they more likely to use some sort of a performance analysis technique? So, that kind of thing lends itself to doing like crosstabs and stuff like that. And so for that, you need to have the data. And so we've provided you with the Excel spreadsheet or the Excel report data file. And we've ensured that there's no PII in there. I've asked a couple of my colleagues who are up to their eyeballs in like GDPR and all this sort of stuff to just give it a look. And there's nothing in there that can be traced to any individual respondent. So I think we can be very comfortable putting this data out in the public domain and knowing that there's no way for anybody to be identified right by the answers or by the information that's in there. So those are the three outputs, if you will. So two of them kind of go together. That's this PDF and then the PowerPoint. The PDF has the majority of the questions displayed in sort of images like this. But for when there was a question like this one here, or this one where SurveyMonkey really doesn't know how to visualize it out of the box anyway. We provide a summary view. I'll just switch over to PowerPoint in here. So we've done that for you here. So again, this is PowerPoint and the PDF are very suitable for folks who are really just interested in understanding what the trends are at a high level. And for anybody who wants to go deeper, they're totally welcome to do that by using the Excel data file and importing that into R or whatever their preferred statistical analysis might be.
Greg, will this so you said that the kind of raw data thing will be available as the Excel file. Will the PDF also be available?
Yeah, all of it.
Okay.
So I've
Awesome.
I've shared this with both Dan and Michael, and we thought it would be worthwhile to review it here with this group just to talk it over and make sure that everybody understands what it is and that. But all three of those files are really good to go.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think definitely it's great you put together the one with the summaries, so people who don't want to dive through the Excel can get at least a top level view of them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I find it's one of those funny things. It's like there's like the long tail, right? There's most people are going to be perfectly satisfied with the PDF and the PowerPoint, but there's going to be a group of people who are going to have edge things that they really want to understand, and having the Excel is going to let them do whatever sort of analysis they want to do. And you know, maybe there'll be people who will take that and contribute the insights that they produce back. That might be a nice ask is, hey, if you come up with something that you think the community might find interesting, slicing and dicing the data, please contribute those graphs back so that we can all benefit from the analysis that's happening by the community.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly a possibility from, when the benchmarking team gets the full data and sort of digests it, maybe something will come out of that like that.
So Greg, what I'd like to propose, thank you for sharing the data with Michael and myself. But as kind of a point of process, as an attempt to model how we take responsibility and how we sort of allow the foundation to take the responsibility of managing this data and the responsibility of certifying in a way that we've prepared the data in a way that is ready for public consumption. Would you be willing to try to do the initial pull request here and just have a little bit of a data trail and some attribution and whatnot?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. It's been a while since I've done a pull request.
No problem, right? Yeah.
If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Yeah. Feel free
I think we maybe just want to agree on where it should go in the repo, right? Like that's probably as simple as, do we want a surveys directory under user feedback and then a directory which is the name for benchmarking survey 2010, 2007, 2018, and then the 3 documents under there. Is that?
Yep. So I before I proposed that, I did just drop in a folder for Greg to be able to land that.
Excellent. Okay.
I set that up with a location for that to go. Okay. So Greg's not responsible for defining that.
Sure. Okay, I see it there now. It's like data 2018-02 benchmarking WG survey. That sounds reasonable.
Cool. So is it a pull request or is it just a comment?
Pull request, please.
Pull request. Yep.
Yeah, the expected workflow is anything that goes into the Node.js project needs to be pull requested, and that's how we kind of build consensus and model consensus to say, hey, great, thank you, Greg, for doing that work. We as members of the community committee and user feedback group sign off, and I think this is a valuable contribution.
Sweet. Thanks. I'm excited. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. No, I'm more than happy to do that. Yeah.
Excellent.
And Greg, if you want to reach out, if you have any questions, feel free to email me and I'd be happy to get on a Zoom meeting with you or something and just go through it if you have any questions.
Cool. Thank you.
I
may well do that.
Okay.
Like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, it's like muscle memory. Like if you don't do pull requests regularly, and I had been at a point where I was doing it, from time to time, and so I didn't forget, but it's been a while, so I may do that.
You bet. And these are file additions, not edits to code. So full understanding that you're working through that, and don't worry. Like if you make a mistake, we can sort it out. We'll back you up. And help make that happen.
Cool. Thanks.
Great. Well, thanks again to Greg and the Node.js Foundation for making that happen. It means a lot, and means a lot to us as user feedback. And I haven't heard anything but really positive feedback from folks in the benchmarking group.
Yeah, and I think definitely there'll be people who are interested in, we were asked in the initial phases, like, hey, is the data going to be public? So they'll be happy to see that.
So I do have a question over here, mostly because I am new, and how happy we are with this number of answers. So it looks like we have like under 300 answers for the survey. How happy we are on a scale from 1 to 10, for example?
So I'll just add, like, going in, I was hoping we would hit 100, and that was like a goal. So I am very happy that we hit that high. I think we could definitely hit higher in the future, but I'm glad we kind of set that as a good baseline.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'll add that. I think Greg has told us that number is relatively statistically significant, right?
Yeah, and there's actually a tool that I found on the web that will allow you to determine the confidence percentage that you can have based on the population size and the sample size. So the population size is like the whole universe of people, right, or entities that you could respond, right, and then your population or your sample size. So yeah, I mean, I think 300, almost 300 is a good sample size. I do, and I'll do that as part of my pull request, is go to that, and just so that there's that additional level of visibility into, like, if we estimate that the universe of enterprises, right, is X, whatever that is, yeah. It's a good number. I think that these are good stats, and you should feel good about this, I think, is my sense.
Awesome. We might have lost Dan due to his hard stop.
Okay.
I still see him here.
Okay, there you go.
Dan, are you having trouble hearing us, or?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Now we hear you back.
Great. So sorry, I had a call that I had to hop on to say, are we ready to transition? I would like to, if we're comfortable moving on to another topic, I'd like to propose something, a couple things, but I really want to make sure that I propose something that began to sort of form in a discussion with Chris around what is his major contribution to the open source ecosystem. He's a maintainer for Mocha. And he was like, "Oh, this is great to hear how Walmart's using Node, and it'd be wonderful as a tooling builder to get together, collaborate with other tooling maintainers and developers, and also do get some end user feedback." So what I'd like to propose is, sort of just getting the ball rolling, getting folks listening to some of the context of what's going on, to allocate our next public meeting to developing that user feedback around tooling, and invite some tooling folks to a meeting. Chris, I know you reached out to some folks, to some more other peers and other tooling providers. Who else do you think could potentially join that session?
So I've got somebody. I don't know if it's safe to call people out, but I've got.
You don't have to.
Whatever you feel comfortable.
I've got somebody from Webpack. I've got somebody from NPM.
Nice.
I've got. I've been talking with type script.
Nice.
And so, there's been I've gotten positive, response from the idea. So, it pretty much just about everybody I've asked has said, yeah, this sounds great, and I want to participate. So, yeah, I mean, I could try to find some more people, but I mean, I feel like, these user feedback sessions, you probably don't want too many people in them, right? So,
I do still think it would be good to make like a public call, just so that it's, we're not self-selecting the people.
But
you're probably right that you've already mentioned enough to have critical mass.
Mm-hmm.
I still think, hey, if there's people who are maintaining tools that want to be involved, call would just make sure we're not excluding anybody.
And this actually very much aligns with one of the things that Tracy, myself, and I think you, Michael, were talking about before you jumped in to help organize the user feedback stuff. Dan, is one of the goals is not just end user necessarily, but that mid user who's creating the tooling that end users are using, and also focusing on the needs of that mid user, because that sometimes can get lost pretty easily. And so that's definitely something that I am super passionate about and would be happy to help drive to the extent I can.
Awesome.
Because that's a super important thing.
Yeah. Great. Adding to that, I think, at some point we want to end up with, here are the different types of end users we have. Like, we have people who deploy Node in production, people generating tools would be another type of user. And there may be some other ones like, and if we formed a group that we could go to around each of those, that would be fantastic. So this definitely, is I'm 100% plus one in terms of, hey, it's getting us into that second area.
So, given that we need to, do the sort of public call for participation, I'd like to propose not the next meeting, which would be in 2 weeks, but in 2 meetings from now. So March 30th, we could begin to invite folks to that session, and we'll allocate that as a public session. How do
that sounds good to me, because I'm gonna probably I may miss the next one anyway. So being 2, the next one after is perfect.
Great. I unfortunately have a hard stop, so I have to leave right now. But thank you again, Greg, and thanks, Chris, for setting this up and engaging the tooling community. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, looking forward to it.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, so I guess Tierney, do you want to take over chairing, or do you want me to?
I can take over the rest of the meeting.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the agenda to see. Okay, so actually, I think we might have hit all the points in the agenda.
I think there was so we talked about the benchmarking diagnostic workgroup survey as one. That's there. Yeah. I don't know that we have a lot to discuss about that. That's kind of if we're going to do a next survey, that's one that I think might make sense, but we'd have to go back to the diagnostics team and sort of, I'm willing to take the action I still have the action to sort of collate what came out of the summit, but one of the things out of that is I'll take an action to talk to them about how we'd put together a survey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a very good group to get a survey from as well. This is me kind of going into a little tangent. I'm wondering if the website the website redesign initiative would be interested in something as well, specifically around how people use the website, the Node.js site, and what they would want to use it for. That really aligns with one of the pain points we were feeling yesterday, which was, what are our users, and how do we define them, and what are the goals we're trying to serve?
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
So I think I will definitely take that back as a to-do to pull them in and see if they are interested, or if they'd like to define a specific kind of set of questions to go and reach out with.
Can I butt in really quick? I responded to, I don't know, whenever this benchmarking survey came out, I was like, I was having trouble answering it because of reasons. But I did mention that, I have, previous to IBM, I worked in, basically online surveys. I worked in online surveys for 8 years. And so I have some, I'm not a marketer. but I have some knowledge about like how to basically things not to do, and I would totally be happy to look at like what we're ready to send out, and I may have some really good feedback there, just kind of to help out and say, oh, maybe this question type is not what we want to use,
for sure,
things like that. So I'm just wanted to volunteer to help out with that, but before you decide to send anything out.
Yeah, that's very helpful context.
I think, Tierney, we might want to capture somewhere a list of external reviewers.
Mm-hmm.
Just so, I think we'll definitely, once we get a set of questions from a particular group, we'll review them in these meetings. But if there's people who if there's people who basically volunteered, like Christopher, to review but may not be attending all the meetings, we want to make sure we've got it documented somewhere so we don't forget to send it to them, right?
Yeah, and I think we can do that as a basic PR to the README. Like we can just have a reviewers section.
Right. Sounds good.
So first of course I'll make a highlight over here, but it should be a start as the meeting notes. So like we have the folder right now, the meetings, and probably we need to have like a word outside of our meeting. Look, we have somebody over here, and could somebody else can help us or something like that.
Yeah, I think Tierney was suggesting we can PR that list into the README for now.
Yeah, just like in the community committee repo, we have a few, like I think 3 separate lists. One of the members, one of the individual membership representatives, and then one of the emeritus. And so you could just do the same thing where you create effectively the same structure, where you just have a heading and you just have the people, and then we can PR those people in as we get more and more.
Yeah, and we may change. I mean, in the end, the README could get cluttered, but for now, I don't think it's going to be an issue, right?
Yeah. And like, we can always pull that file out content out into another file and link it. Like it's
just always, keep it simple for now.
Yep. And I'm happy to go and do that. If Christopher, if you don't mind me PRing your name into that, I'm happy to go do that today.
Yeah, sure. Just add me as a reviewer or what.
Okay. Awesome. Sounds good.
Okay, that was good. I think the other thing I know, like, is there any more discussion on that? No. Okay. The other thing I noticed on the agenda was end user feedback looking for participants, Ref 20.
Yeah.
I do think we want to continue to ask for more participants on that front.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we think we should just go ahead with more, tweets and links, or if we have other ways of doing that, or if we or like, do we want to wait to do that until after we get past the tooling feedback session?
We should probably. I don't know. It's a rough thing, because I was looking back recently at some of the minutes from the ComCom stuff, and it seems like there are things in the end user feedback thing that we need to address before we push it further. But like I don't know on that.
Was that for the enterprise advisory group or the
yes?
End
user feedback. Right? Sorry, very different.
Like we've had a couple sessions. We got about 5 people, but we could probably use more participants.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to do it right away, but it was I do still, since it was on the agenda, I thought I'd mention. I think we still want to be making like, hey, we it might be now. Hey, we had a couple great sessions. Thanks to the people who came out. Hey, if of course we could still use more people if you're interested, so let us know, that kind of thing.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Okay. My question then is, I actually don't really understand the difference between. Oh god, I clicked the email link. I don't really understand the difference. Yeah, we shouldn't get into that.
I think I can give you my standard explanation for that.
That would be super
and
helpful.
We can talk separately if you want to as well. But sort of my understanding is, the end user feedback is like anybody who's interested, anybody who either uses Node or even doesn't use Node because they're having problems. Like we're just interested from anybody who will give us feedback on on Node.js. The enterprise advisory group is cast as a group of large enterprises who have large deployments of Node.js.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of like a special subset that says, okay, these are people who have a large deployment and they're available and willing to test out things that only they can do because they have that large deployment.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
for example, if we've got some changes we need to make and we don't think there's some major or breaking, but we want somebody to test them out, that would be a group that we could go to and say, well, can you try these changes in advance? And because they have large deployments, they should be able to do that for us.
Okay, cool.
So in the end, it might end, as we were talking earlier, we want to get a bunch of different constituents. We've got just people who have Node.js, and we kind of started with the general one in production, not being able to use it, whatever. We're I think going to have a specialized one around tooling. And I could see the enterprise advisory group just being a more specialized one like that for enterprises with large deployments.
Gotcha. Okay.
I know there's still some fuzziness, but that's kind of like, if I'm asked, that's how I'd explain the difference. I think you're still right in terms of there's still some stuff to work through on the enterprise advisory group in terms of organization, because there was some thought that they were going to be like self-organizing or whatever. I think we should almost set a meeting to sort of work through those specifically.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't want to necessarily tie blocking work on the other stuff on any of that.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, so I'll take the action to sort of put out another call for people saying, hey, we had some great meetings, but of course we're still looking for more people.
Yep.
I'll put some of that out.
And feel free to let me know how I can do the same as well.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, I'll send a tweet if you want to, look at that and send out some others, and then we can also ask Sibi to kind of promote as well. So
okay, yeah, sounds good.
Okay, I think then we've now kind of covered. But somebody, if Dan was here, I'd ask him to take the action to set up a meeting on the enterprise advisory group. So maybe Mihai, you can put that into the minutes that we're giving Dan that.
Yeah, sure, not a problem.
that action to set up a meeting to work through that, make sure that we're all on the same page, because obviously there's still a few questions, and then to define like how do we move it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, with that, I think I guess I can open up YouTube real quick and see if there's any questions. It does not look like it. So awesome. With that, we can end the meeting then. Thanks everyone for coming, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks. Nice talking to you all.
Nice talking to you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.